be live.
From the Midwest to all around the world, broadcasting the best in hip-hop and R&B. Right here, 24/7. Hits 107.3, The Beat. I'm trying to phase out the noise in my voice. So loud in the background. I'm trying to phase out the noise in the background. I'm trying to phase out.
Joint so fresh, you gotta Shazam it. Coming through loud and clear. It's powered 102 Jam.
It's our perspective. When perception comes to Detroit, respecting you all over. Right around is what you chose. Perspective. It's just the point of view, the odds and the outcome, based on how you move. It's our perspective. When perception comes to Detroit, respecting you all over. Right around is what you chose. Perspective. It's just the point of view, the odds and the outcome, based on how you move.
Good evening, good evening, good evening.
Good evening.
No different. What's going on, ladies? How is the world doing?
It's good, good. We're good. How you, bro?
Man, doing well. Just out here, trying to adjust to this staying in the house and giving elbows to everybody.
Yes, we got elbow pound.
Okay. I mean?
It's an adjustment.
So welcome everybody to Perspective217. It is October 22nd of 2020. Is it the 22nd already?
Have we kept any kind of track of what episode we are in this season right now, man? I know we had a good count. I don't know where we at right now, brother. Where we at? This is COVID season.
We're in year 4. So
we're in year 4.
And really, that's all that matters.
COVID episode, whatever it is. We're going to keep it right. Keep it moving.
COVID episode since March, right? That's what our COVID situation is. So, like we said, welcome everybody. We're going to go ahead and start the way we always do. I got to ask my brother, Kale, man, how you been, Kale? How's your week?
What's going on, brother? It's been a little bit better, man. A little bit better. Everything's kind of getting a little more situated. So, things are flowing a lot better, man. And today's my off day, but I worked. Just to make them ends meet, so to speak. But hey, like I always say, man, I'm blessed. I'm here to talk about it. So everything else, man, I can deal with.
Absolutely. Ree, how your week been, bro?
Man, it's been good, man. Had a birthday on Tuesday, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, happy belated birthday.
Born day, my brother.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know what I'm saying? And the wife went and we was under COVID scare, but wife went and got tested and she came back negative, so we good, man, over here, man. We chilling.
It's a blessing.
So it's a blessing, man. Hey, another day above ground, man. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Another day to make a change. You know what I'm saying? So we good.
And to our guests, my sisters, if we was blood, we wouldn't be no closer, right?
We couldn't be.
I don't even remember who's the oldest. That's the bad part, right? I just know y'all want to me.
That's insignificant. That's not even.
It don't matter. Well, she just told me who's the oldest now. I know who's the oldest.
I think among the three of us, you're the oldest, P. Yes. I think
I look the oldest. I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that.
We'll go with that. We'll go.
So Sherry and Shelly, welcome to The Perspective. We really appreciate you guys coming to join us to talk with us a little bit. How's your week been?
It's been crazy. It's been crazy busy, and busy is good. Yeah. Right. But it's been good. No complaints. Everybody's healthy. Everybody's COVID free. Mm-hmm. Yep. So far, so good. We're hanging in there. So no complaints. Really good.
Absolutely. Okay. So since we only have an hour, right? We used to do it for 2 hours when and we just talk. You know what I mean? Y'all know I like to talk. So, we going to go ahead and kind of jump into it before Kale start hitting me with the real in, right? Ladies, would you please just kind of give us a short bio of yourselves, and kind of what you've done and then what you do now?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that it's hard to kind of put it into one succinct soundbite, but I will say that we both have 9-to-5s that we absolutely are very much so immersed in and enjoy and love the work. I am the chairman of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for a Fortune 500 company. And
I am the manager of community advocacy and coalitions for a violence prevention organization called Chicago Cred in Chicago.
And so that's our day jobs. And then our passion is we own our own company that is an events and logistics company. And by events, it's mostly studio productions, project management, government, events and things like that, political events. Mm-hmm. And that company is called Eventstics, and we started Eventstics in 2018 because both Sherry and I are freelance television producers, and in another world, when jobs in that field was a little bit more plentiful in this area, we both worked in television. Sherry worked for the Oprah Winfrey show for
15, well, see, now it would be 20 years because we still freelance. So 15 years I've been with them.
Mm-hmm. And then she went on to Steve Harvey, and then I worked for many years for public broadcasting for WTTW Channel 11, and then I went on to become on-air talent for WYCC, that's still in the PBS space. And so we decided, and then we still did freelance work. So instead of doing individual, Shelly has a job here, Sherry, can you help me with that? Sherry has a job here, Shelly, can you help me with that? We decided to pull our interests and our gigs and start our own company. And thankfully, for the last 2 years, we have been steadily, able to sustain, even through COVID. Mm-hmm. So that's it. That's us in a nutshell.
And that's the key right there, is it's the sustaining through COVID. We talk about this quite a bit, and I'm sure we'll probably get into that later on. But thank you, ladies, for taking your time out and joining us.
Thank you.
I'm trying to.
What is P over there doing?
Dude, I'm trying to do more than I should. So, okay, so you gave us a lot, and that is hard to put into a soundbite, right?
Yeah.
When we met, which it feels like it was eons ago, but
it was. Mm-hmm.
Shelly, I actually met you first.
Yep. Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Me and Kelly actually met you, I think, at the same time in St. Louis.
Yeah.
When you were managing an artist, and that management piece included a lot more than what I knew management.
Oh my God!
Right?
Yes.
And you was doing background, you was providing background, you were making sure the events, location was
wardrobe, travel,
everything, right? And on top of that, having your 9-to-5, and both of you have families.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So you as strong African American women had to juggle that and show the example, in which I learned so much in that first year and a half, right, of our contact. It was ridiculous. So how can like somebody that is interested in your service, your combined service, how could they obtain you or get a hold of you?
Well, first of all, it has been the best, where we at 14 years. Mm-hmm. We have known each other 14 years. It's been 14 years, yes. And in answer to your question, we are on social media, Instagram and Facebook. It's everything _Eventstics, which is EVENTSTICS, Eventstics. And our website is www.eventstics.com. But if you are a television show and you're looking to have a studio audience, if you are an artist or an author and you want to do a press junket or a listening party, or if you are a politician and you want to have some focus groups, or you want to do a rally, downstate, or you want to prepare a nonviolent march, or any of these things that require, it was funny, Sherry and I were trying to figure out in one soundbite, what is it that we do? Mm-hmm. And we provide, we're people movers, and we provide people and the energy in the room. And if it's one thing that I got from working in television, it is that you can have people on camera, particularly when you have studio shows. You can have one person on camera, but that other character in the room is the audience, and it's the energy that you are able to exchange. And we provide that energy. Wouldn't you say?
I would say absolutely. And then we are not a casting company. And the reason why we say that is because casting companies get butts in the seat. They do not give you the energy and the true interest and the passion for what this person is seeing or doing, right? And so that's why you can see a television show like an Oprah Winfrey show that was on TV 25 seasons and could probably be on television right now today, and the audience be the unseen other piece of the production. It wasn't just an audience. They weren't just butts and seats or the backdrop. The audience was a real part of the show, and their energy, she felt, Ms. Winfrey felt the energy, and then she gave it back and she fed off of the audience. And that was what was part of the recipe of the magic that went into it. Mm-hmm. And then we juxtapose that with some other talk shows. Now, it's difficult in this space of COVID because most people on the screen, you can only get so much energy anyway. But, in a studio audience, if you are someone who is casted and you already got your money to show up, or you're going to get paid to show up, your thought is, okay, I got my money, my butt is in the seat, all I have to do is sit here. Mm-hmm. When it's more than that, you have to engage, and you have to really be interested and give that energy to feed off of. And so that's what we do. If we are going to do a project, the one thing we will guarantee you is that you will have people at your event, in your studio, at your rally that is passionate about being there.
And knows your product and knows the purpose for them being there. Like when we did the conversation with Governor Pritzker. Was that last year, P?
Yep, it was last year.
Made sure we had people who were in tune, who were constituents, that was in the room. And we made sure that we handpicked the people to make sure you get over and talk to so-and-so, so-and-so. This person has this agenda, or this person is talking about that. And we cultivated that kind of exchange. And that's what our company does. Really quickly, and I don't want to go too far on a tangent, but I was reading a book, and it was the biography of Stevie Nicks, right? From Fleetwood Mac. Uh-huh. And so I get towards the end of the book, and I, went through the 70s, went through, the 80s, and went through the 90s, with her. And I get to the end of the book, and she's talking about an episode that she did at WTTW in Chicago. And when she talks about this episode, she makes a point to talk about, she had been out of the game for a minute, and this was her comeback. And she said that when she taped this special, the audience made her renew her love for singing, and it confirmed and it reconfirmed with her that she is right where she needed to be, and they gave right back to her the energy that she needed, that she needed to feel to keep going and to go on with her career. So she said, and I am forever, indebted to whoever it was that produced that audience, because they basically, breathed new life into my, wanting to be in music again. And as I'm reading this, I was like, wait a minute. I produced that. Mm-hmm. And when you have somebody that gets it and that understands, regardless on whether it's television or regardless on whether it's a political rally, regardless on whether it's a town hall that we did in DC talking about some of the very issues that we're going through right now, it's that interaction and that engagement that makes it real and makes it organic. And if you're gonna have those conversations and you're gonna have an audience or you're gonna have people that gives that back to you, you want to make sure that they're the right people so you get the right exchange. And that's what we do. And we're the best at it.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Because if we have time, I want to talk a little bit about some of my personal experiences with that. Kel, you had the next question up, sir?
Man, I just got blown off my stance on with the introduction. I just had two quick questions. So, how is it working with Oprah Winfrey? I know everybody, all our viewers and listeners want to know that. How was it to interact with Oprah on a day-to-day basis for that many years?
Yeah.
And two, what do you ladies have in store right now for this? I know you talked about putting together rallies and putting people's butts in seats and stuff like that. But what do you guys have in store for this election?
Yeah. The first thing is working for Oprah was and is amazing because she is probably our maybe #1 client right now. Yep. So we still work with her on a freelance basis. Working for her full time at Harpo was an absolute blessing. You can only describe it as a blessing from God because she is everything, was everything that you would imagine and think she was, and she is exactly who she says she is on television. I will say this, she is honest, she is super smart to the point where if you have a conversation with her, you kind of find yourself trying to say really profound, smart things. And she's the type of person that will say, relax, be yourself. You know, she is, she's very honest, she's real. And, I thank God every day for the opportunity to have crossed her path. And I've learned so much. And we have so much to thank her for even today with our own business. What we're working on today, the funny thing is, today I did an event. It wasn't huge. It was, it was about 85 people. It was a Zoom event, and we were talking about, we worked with Arnie Duncan, the former Secretary of Education, Barack Obama's former Secretary of Education. And we were talking to the community that his organization serves, and that is Black and Brown, disenfranchised from the South and West sides of Chicago, who are most likely to be shooters or be shot. Okay, and most of the time that's the same group. And we were talking to them about, this was just really a pulse check is what we called it. And it was talking to the guys about, what is your plan for voting? First of all, are you registered? The second thing is that we were talking to all of the guys was, what is your voting plan? Because registering is one thing, but what's your plan? What time do you plan on voting? What's your transportation and getting to where you need to your polling place? You know, do you have everything you need to bring with you? Are you gonna need some water because you might have to stand in line for a bit of time? And so we talked to the guys about what their plan for voting is. And we also kind of talked to them about what was driving them and what they were voting for. And if they knew the power that is, yes, you do have a voice, and your voice is your vote. And so that whole event was just kind of a pulse check. And I went into it worried that the guys were not going to be interested in hearing. We had a political expert and all of that, and he was going over the electoral college and kind of how to get to it. And so for a second, I was really concerned that the guys were not going to be as interested in the topic. And they ended up being extremely interested in the topic. They ended up having a healthy debate back and forth, actually, with Arnie. And, there were some things, I think that we had some of the guys that came into the room that walked in with their mind kind of made up and on who they were going to vote for. And by the time they left the room, who was their mind made up on? It wasn't my candidate. But by the time they left the room, we at least had them in a situation where we gave them something to think about.
Right.
And they said, okay, we need to go home and think some more. The takeaway that I got today is that we have both Arnie and his organization, as well as us as a community, we have a lot to do in order to bring our young men, our younger guys, up to where they need to be, because they are right now still in a mindset of material and money, and they are material and money driven. And that's kind of what I heard today. They were listening to other positions, which they came in the room, in the Zoom room, not listening to other positions, but by the time they left, they were listening to other positions. And I left them with this. I said, there's a scripture that goes, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? And so, you know, and we can have all the money in the world. We can have temporary stimulus money and all of that.
Facts.
But if you are selling yourself in that process and your people in that process, like, I'm gonna take this $10,000 because I'm gonna say I'm a small business, and then I'm gonna go vote for this guy who will do nothing for us, and then come after me for that $10,000 because I'm not a real small business.
Right.
You know? And so, you know, but that was today.
Yeah, he gonna get his money back. That's crazy.
Right.
So that kind of piggybacks on my next question, or our next question, I should say. As African-American females and mothers, right? Because you both are mothers, and clearly you're African-American females for all the visual people. Speak a little bit about what makes this election experience a little different than previous ones for you.
You know what? That's a good question, Pete, because while we're both aligned, we both have different motivators. For me, this election, when we talk about, I'm very clearly Harris Biden. Let's put that out there.
Okay.
And I said it in that order. I said it in the right order. It was
Harris
not a mistake.
Right.
But for me, when you think about some of the platforms, and I'm a platform girl, and I'm a person that I vote on what affects my household, and I vote on what speaks to my conscience. And when you think about conservatives, and you think about people who are voting for the purpose of saying that it is the evangelical thing to do, or it's the Christian thing to do, and you know they're pro-choice, and they want to, you know, they're not pro-life, and I always give it back to whomever may say that. What is the difference between a fetus and my Black son's life if both of them are taken away, or both of them are gone? So for me, this election puts, at least at the forefront, the importance of both of my children, my sons, my nephews, my you know, my family members, their sons, their Black children. It makes it, at least this election, we have got to vote for the future lives of our children. And that's what's motivating me. And that's kind of what gets me, you know, kind of really passionate about it. And to the extent that I talk to other people constantly about this, because, you know, when you think about not just going to Roe v. Wade, but when you think about the fact that we have a president that, in my day job with the whole DE&I, just did an executive order to say that, you know, there's no, it's racist to have diversity, equity, and inclusion programs within the workplace. It's racist. This is a president that sent an executive order to say, stop.
Right.
No more programs, no more fairness, no more balance in the workplace. Well, my son is graduating college this year. He's going to be in that workplace that is going to look at him as an African-American man, and they're going to judge him as such. And there's no controls in place. There's no sensitivity training in place that's going to help him be able to be seen fairly. So I'm voting for my child. I'm voting for my sons. I'm voting for their future. And I know yours, I know when I talk about my life, but go ahead. So mine is a combination of things. The first one is I have a young Black, beautiful daughter. And she,
because she has parents and she's an only child and she has parents who are, I'll say, seasoned. We watch we watch CNN most of the time.
Right.
And so while other kids are talking about TikTok and all of that, she's telling you the lineup. You know, I like Cuomo, and then Anderson Cooper. I don't
Don Lemon.
Right. You know, so she talks about CNN. So she's very in tuned with what is going on, and she's seeing a couple of things. Yeah, she's seen a couple of things. Breonna Taylor said that whole thing says that Black women don't matter. You know, she has watched this president call women names from nasty to monsters to disgusting to, I mean, all of this from this president. And
he's holding no shorts. I mean, that's
right.
That's any woman, any race. You know that that's how he looks at women. Period.
Right. It's the truth. And you know, and she has heard this, and to me, I just think it is time out. It's time out for all of that. And she is beautiful. She is valuable, and she should be regarded as such. And for the president of the United States to he should be ashamed of himself. Okay, most of the time the attacks have been, and they've been for all women, but a lot of times he really comes for Black women, and she sees that, and I think that's one of the things that are driving me. The other thing that is driving me is I'm just sick of being lied to. You know, there's a thing, I'm just sick of you can't pee on my head and tell me that it's raining anymore. Like this man literally, right, this man literally will get on television, and because I've been in the television industry for so many years, I know a spin when I see it. Right. Yeah. And so basically he says, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in the room, know 100% that I'm telling them a lie, but I'm gonna look straight into the camera, say it really loudly, and the louder you say it and the more convincing you act, then people will believe it. Like right now, we know that it's nighttime. He will come on television and say, you know, good morning, everyone. This is, and we all know it's a lovely day out right now. It is so beautiful. And everybody's looking around like, it is nighttime.
Yeah.
There's millions.
Yeah, this is definitely the Apprentice 2.0 that he is he has orchestrated, you know, with fake news, all lies, and then he's the Twitter guru all of a sudden. So
this is a reality show.
Yeah, you know, I love the fact that you mentioned, you know, your daughter, and a lot of times with all the issues that we have going on, we tend to gravitate towards the men, especially Black men, but also, you know, also in this struggle, and also in this battle is the Black women, you know, the young women, the young kids, the young Black kids. And so I'm glad you brought that to the forefront, because sometimes we don't speak about our queens, our princess, you know, and they need their recognition just like we're fighting for their recognition as Black men and kings too. So
yeah. And then there's one more thing. There's one more thing to add to that. The other thing that was a calling card for me and Shelly and every mother was George Floyd.
That was absolutely.
Oh yeah.
When that man called out for his mother, how could I not vote? That guy, he's got to get the hell out. And the systematic racism, they got to go. Yeah. You know, when he called out for his mother, to me, that hit me it went to my soul with that, when that man called out for his mother. Now, any mother feels the same way. How could I sit out and not at least do my level best to make sure we have a change?
Right.
And then I'll go one further, because my day job is in the healthcare industry. Our communities are disproportionately affected by this whole COVID debacle. And the reason why I say it's a debacle is because when it first came out, I don't know if y'all remember, way back pre-COVID, when it first came out.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, because you are a frontline worker. Is COVID real?
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes. It's absolutely real.
And equal opportunity.
And it's equal opportunity. Yes. But what I was going to say is when it first came out, it was more real because it at first was Black folks can't be affected by it.
Right.
Yeah.
Remember that.
You weren't affected by it. So when that first came out, that was when people were paying attention to it. And let's get the task force together and let's make sure that we speak on it all the time. And then it started to shift. And it became a situation where it disproportionately affects African American communities, brown communities, and Native American communities. Well, now, since you find out that all of the data and all of the metrics points to those communities, that then says, yeah, it's not important to us anymore. Let's open the schools back.
Yeah, it's going to disappear. Don't worry about it.
It's going to disappear. It's going to be a miracle. They'll get over it because we're the communities that are dying from it. African American babies, I just watched a study yesterday on CNN. African American, Black and brown children are the ones that are dying at the highest rate of COVID. And children, as far as the number of children. And so when it started to become clear that it affected the African American communities, the brown communities, the Native American communities, that's when the sense of urgency changed. And for me, my life is important. My mother and my father, who are elderly parents, your mom and dad, who are elderly parents, their lives matter. And he has to go. You have to get to this election because if for nothing else, the fact that you told me that my life is no longer important enough to want to, or the 250,000 other lives is not important enough for you to make any alterations or any changes, and you say it so brazenly on television, no, I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah. Even still, when he got the data and the intel, where people were telling him, look, this is what's coming. This is going to be brutal. It's going to kill people in mass numbers. And he did nothing. He did nothing. He was like, I'm not going to tell the people that's going to scare the people. Like,
no, and that is now.
You are supposed. This is your role. As and I never call him this P word because I don't give him that recognition. But as you being the head person in charge of this country, you have to act. You can't sit back and just say, you know, they'll just be casualties of war. That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
So Monique said Wonder Twin power, and hey, right.
Wonder Twin power.
She's at the gym. I'll Dominique probably chiming in too, but so going into the next question, it's kind of. So I believe in the phrase, it takes a village, right? I still believe in that. I know that our younger parents, you know, you don't say nothing to my kid, you know, I'm gonna whoop your head if you do, you know, look at my kid the wrong way. But I think we still need that. How do we get back to that mindset as a community from your perspective?
I have a thought. And my thought is, get out of your house, go meet your neighbor, talk to your neighbor.
From a distance.
I mean, from a socially distant, mask on, elbow pound your neighbor.
Right.
But I think we got out of the habit of knowing each other's neighbors. So there was a saying that said, we went from sitting on our front porches, waving and talking to everybody, to minding our own business in our backyard. And to me, that is where the problem comes in at. We have got to know our neighbors enough to care about them, enough to look out for them, enough to call the police if something doesn't look right, enough to come out of the house if they've called the police and the police don't look right. I mean, like enough to make sure that there is no snitch code in our community. We have got to know that, wait a second, that's Ms. Walker's kid down the block. No, I need to make sure that he's good. And if he's showing out, Ms. Walker has already given me permission that if my son is out there showing out, then I can get him just like Ms. Walker could get him. You know what I'm saying? Because it absolutely takes a village. And I think that we lost loving and caring for each other, and I think we've kind of hidden that, or we've concealed it in it's not my business. Mm-hmm. And to me, if you are my neighbor and I know you, then your business is my business. Now, I'm not trying to get all in the mix of what's going on behind closed doors and none of that. But what I am here to do is make sure that I'm gonna look out for you and that you'll look out for me. And so I think we've gotten out of the habit of knowing our neighbor and forming a relationship and caring about what happens to our neighbor. And I'm gonna own that myself. I couldn't tell you what my neighbor's name is. I could not tell you what my neighbor's name is.
That's it. The rest of them around, I don't know.
I couldn't tell you. So I have to get better with that. Now, you know, my husband, Derek, will talk to a thumbtack. So Derek knows everybody. And that's, so I say that he's the one that knows everybody. So they'll look out for Derek if nobody else. But I think we have to get back to that. We have got to get back to knowing our neighbor and actually being a village. I don't think we are a village right now.
I also think that we have to meet people where they are, and we have to expand the village. And that means that, for example, you know how we get down, P. If I see something, wait a minute, what did he post on? Hold on. Mm-hmm. Mo, you know, we have to meet them where they are, and we have to be that village for each other. I always like to say, there is one thing to have family, but it's a better thing to have an extended family, because then that means you have more boots on the ground. You got more hands on your child. You have more, you know, opportunities to be able to get in front of a situation. And again, I think that it's important, like for example, when you have that network and you have that extended family, you know for a fact that if Jamie gets out of line and he's in your company, man, it's over. that if Terrell comes here and he's listen, and the same with Mo, but it's because we have built those relationships and that community that we have put around our children and our families in general. And I feel like it's important to do that. You know, kind of, even if you're an introverted person, get outside of yourself. I challenge people to go and build and expound on relationships so that you can invite another set of hands, another set of eyes into your life. I think that makes a difference.
And I think mentoring
is important.
And that's male, female, whatever. Yeah. I think just being, because I think a lot of it has to do with, we do have a lot of young parents. And having a lot of young parents, most young parents are private and don't get in my business and all of that. And so they have some things to learn. But if these young parents would do one thing, and if that one thing is, if I can't be the best for you, then I'm going to make sure I have some people that I can bring into your life that can kind of sow into you and give you some of the lessons that maybe I'm not so good at giving you. And so if that is, you know, I think mentoring someone, even if you don't call it mentoring, you know, you could be Unc, you know, you could be, you know, whatever that is called, and whatever coach. You call it, coach, you can be, you know, bro, you know, whatever that is. I think that you, like, I don't know how many of these young kids, I have so many young ladies who are in the production industry and trying to be in the production industry. I'm everybody's auntie.
Yeah.
They'll send me, auntie, tell me what you think about this. You know, I need you to coach me on that, you know? And so, listen, I'm fine to be it. You know, I'd like to be called sis instead of auntie, but okay.
Please don't call me mama.
Right.
Other thing I want to say really quickly is I think that we have to be purposeful in the village that we build. Yeah. We need to have some therapists in our village, because we have some wounded people in our community.
Oh, I agree.
You know what I mean? We need to have some spirituality in our village, because we need to have some protection all the time. God needs to be all in this all the time. Yeah. We need to make sure that we have people that have class and that have heritage and that have legacy in our village. And so I think we have to be purposeful in the people that we choose for our village. Because I think that it helps for us to plant the right seeds. And if I don't have it, you know, this person does. And we need to have, just like you guys were talking about, you know, how you guys kind of came when we were talking before we started, how this whole program came together. You guys work in law enforcement.
Yeah.
you are everybody's go-to. I can't tell you how many times I peed. What does it mean when da 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 da? And you need that, right? Right. And so you need that police officer. You need somebody to say, make sure that you keep your hands on the dash. Make sure that you don't, to get our sons, because they need to have that lesson. So these are the purposeful roles that I think that we need to have in our village, and that we need to build in our villages as well.
Yeah, one thing, I'm sorry, Pete. One thing that I'm hoping that we as people, you know, all races, just people in general, that what we can get out of all of the losses, the pain, the suffering, the killings and all that stuff is, you know, this door for dialogue and conversation is being completely been slammed open. And, you know, like we spoke about earlier, as far as trying to, you know, be neighborly, you know, this is the time to do that. When you know, if you don't know your neighbors, I'm not telling you to go over there and bake pies and go over there and, you know, knock on the doors and all that stuff. But I'm saying, you know, when that opportunity presents itself, you can say, hey, listen, you know, this, I'm this person, and if they're agreeing and acceptance of that, great. If they're not, at least you said who you are, and you know, that's not going to be a working situation. And then from that point, then you kind of know where your stepping block is. Yeah. And so from that, I think from the neighborly situation, as well as starting to talk about, you know, the systematic racism, as well as, you know, the inequalities, and as far as, you know, the work-based situation where you know, there's you know, this window that's been this glass ceiling that's been placed on us, you know, that's been basically shrunken seems like every year. You know, these are conversations that we need to have, because I think right now is the time where we as people can start rounding up our folks, you know, from the old generation to the youth, and say, okay, listen, now we need to start bridging these gaps. Now we need to start closing those gaps that we've had, because it's been this long where, you know, the young might think this of the old, and the old might think this of the young, and we need to sit down and have these conversations, so we as a people can start moving forward as one, instead of, you know, I think this, you think that, and we're not moving as a unit. We're just kind of moving collectively as one person or individual. So I'm hoping that with this movement that we have going on here, that, you know, we can at least start to break down these walls, man, because nobody's gonna come and help us. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all of the onus is gonna be on us, right? You know, to take the initiative.
Yep. I agree. And I think you just said something in what you just said, and we are the superheroes that we're looking for. Yep. You know, we are. We just have to see it in ourselves and step up and be it. But we are the superhero that we're looking for. We really are.
Kale, you had the next question that's in the chat.
As far as the police, I know, you know, here the perspective, you know, this is kind of, you know, our bread and butter of what we've been trying to preach and inform and educate people. And I know that's a real touchy situation right now. You know, it's like putting your hand on a hot oven, man. And you know, you got this side of people who totally don't believe or want to deal with police, and then you have those people who, you know, who support police, and then you have people that are kind of indifferent to police. And so, you know, we always talk about here in Perspective, you know, and you know, with everything that's going on, you know, being able to, like you said, come out your house, you know, try to introduce yourself to the people that's in your neighborhood, and get to know them as people instead of just police officers. We understand, you know, me and P, because, you know, we've done this job, is that normally 99.9% of the time when we are called to respond to your home or your business or whatever it is, it's typically the worst day of your life. There's something that's going on where you can't handle it yourself, or you can't call a cousin or your mom or somebody. And so who comes knocking at the door? It's the police. Well, if you have at least some kind of rapport, I'm not saying you got to be buddy with them or anything like that, but if you at least know that, hey, listen, Officer Davis patrols my area, my neighborhood, my business, my school. And when he shows up, then guess what? Hey, Officer Davis, what's going on, man? Yeah, this Kels. Remember me from blah, 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 blah? Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Instead of, this first contact where he's kind of mean mugging you mean mugging him. Yeah. And the disconnect is already from the jump, because you see that uniform, you're like, man, I really don't want you here. Like, who called you here? Because I didn't call you here. Yeah. So in order to break that wall down, if it's a casual conversation where they're driving by, or Lord knows if they're out doing foot patrols, they don't really do those too much nowadays. But whatever opportunity that you have in order to kind of introduce yourself, kind of break bread with them, to kind of get that little introduction, so to speak, before it all goes bad.
Right. Yeah.
What do you ladies think about that?
I think community policing is absolutely one of the things that is immediately needed in our communities. I think looking at hiring practices and the qualifications of what needs to be met in order to be a police officer. An example of what I mean is that there are a lot of young people who are in the communities who may have had some kind of, a petty charge years and years ago, but now that disqualifies them from, being a police officer. And to me, I think that there need to be some exceptions and some changes that can be made to allow people from the community to be a part of the police team. I think also that we need to be creative and in the hiring pool. So maybe we look at instead of looking at people who have had prior military, maybe we look at therapists, right? And so then now you have police officers who have specializations. So you are, a specialized therapist officer, and then you get partnered with someone else that is, that had military experience, or maybe you are someone from the faith-based field. Maybe you're a reverend. You know what I mean? Because to me, being able to de-escalate the situation and relate to people, I think that is absolutely something that is immediately needed. And the other thing I will say is, I heard a lady say last week that we are dealing in our communities with a lot of scared people. And this was a senior citizen. She said, we are dealing in our communities with a lot of scared people. And she said, I don't just mean the residents. She said, we are scared people running from scared police who are reacting to scared people. And so she said, she said it's a circle. She said, when these officers come into the neighborhood, she's like, you don't even know what happened prior to them coming here. She's like, maybe somebody, shot at them. Maybe somebody, maybe they just, made it out of that last call, just, almost didn't make it out of it, and so they're bringing that into, when they come and respond on our block. And so, PTSD is real. And I think it's not just real in our neighborhoods and in our communities on the streets. It's real in the community, and it's real in police officers as well. And I think we should all address that. And I think we should have, I'm not a strong, and this might be controversial, but I think if we were to think outside of the box and maybe, and let me preface that with saying my brother is a police officer. My sister-in-law is a police officer. I have another brother-in-law that's a police officer. So I have so many officers in my family, and I don't want any of them to lose their jobs. Specifically, since my brother-in-law has said to me, he said, Sherry, he said, it's a tricky situation for me. He said, because when I have on my uniform, I'm a target. He said, when I take off my uniform, I'm a target, and so I don't want to see anyone, lose their job. I do want to see change. I do want to see justice. I want to see compassion. I want to see all of that. But I want to make sure we have the police of our community serving and protecting us, just like they serve and protect anybody else. And that's really all anybody wants, I would imagine. I don't think if you were coming to our block and you were doing your job and you were serving and protecting us and we felt served and protected, there's not one person that would say defund you. There's not a person that would do that. And so I think
there'd be a couple, only because the job's conflict, right? You know what I mean? And it don't matter how nice I treat you, they're gonna be angry because I'm there because I'm interfering with their revenue stream.
Yes.
But I agree with you 1,000% on everything. I was kind of going to ask about knowing, and you kind of touched it already, knowing us kind of as P and Kel, and knowing that we are police officers. You don't get to see us very often in our police duties, right?
I've seen you.
Well, you've seen me do the job, right? Whether I was in the uniform or not.
No, it's kind of frightening. Yeah.
but it's a difference, right? There's not a lot of people that would admit to actually knowing police officers right now, especially in the African American community, and not just knowing that's officer such and such and knowing his first name or her first name, but actually knowing that person as whoever they are outside of the uniform. Yeah. You know, and because you guys know me, you know, I get frustrated. I have days where everything's good. Some days I'm just beat the hell down. Yeah. Right? And you have to rejuvenate me from a distance sometimes, right? Just because I don't have enough energy here, right? Yeah. I've been beat up so bad, but you've also seen me when I'm super joyful for things that happen at the job, where I was able to help somebody or something happened. I was able to make a video that other people loved and those type of things in policing. So you've seen all sides, right? This is something that you know, you guys in your platforms have, because I mean, we just did the 100 Black men.
Black fathers,
right? On OWN show. Yeah. Right. And thanks to your company and you guys within the company, I was able to participate. My father was able to sleep almost through it. But
great. You got a great nap. You got a great nap. Yeah.
Great nap. and you had chiefs of police. You had I mean, it was just a wide variety of people, African American fathers, on that show. 100 of us.
Judges, yeah.
And it was a great conversation. I didn't agree with everything that everybody said just because it wasn't my reality, right? It wasn't what occurred in my life. Yeah. But it didn't mean that it wasn't their reality.
Right.
You know, and it was good that it was able to be expressed in a manner that is documented for history.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the one thing we have to do, and it's hard to get to it because there's so much pain that we're all trying to deal with, Black people specifically. But I think if we can ever get to making sure that the bad cops are no longer given any breaks, they have to go. Bad cops have to go. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is, after we've dealt with the fact that bad cops have to go and be charged for whatever it is that they've done, then we have to deal with communicating to one another, yeah, and giving each other grace, right? Like, look, there's some days that we are, like you were saying, you're gregarious and you're funny and you're fun, and then there are other days where it could be outside things that life is something, you know, and some days we carry it really well and other days we don't. And so in situations like that, we have to give one another grace. And so as residents, we have to give our police officers grace. As police officers, we have to give our residents grace. So maybe this guy that is mouthing off, you know, maybe he has just had a hell of a day. And he really should, you know, stop while he's ahead. But, you know, when you are someone that is not a bad cop, you can recognize that this dude, let me go ahead and de-escalate this. Clearly he is not having a good day. Let me go ahead and, and so I think we have to have grace with one another. And I think if we work on that, then I think that'll start, start the road to trusting each other and trusting the police officers and having a better conversation. And I will also say there are bad people everywhere. And so if there are bad black people, bad white people, bad officers, bad criminals, there are bad, and if you are a bad person, it's nothing you can do. You are to hide that. You are a bad person, you are a bad person. And so I think that, there are some times where we want to be nice and we give the police officers a break and they really are a bad police officer. And then there are other times where this officer is going to, pull over somebody and he really was trying to break into the house, or he really was beating up on his wife. You know what I'm saying? And so, I think we have to recognize that and try and give each other grace. And those bad people should be charged. And if you're blue, if you're black, if you're white, if you're doing something that you should be charged for, then you should be charged.
There's no blue people in the world that I know of.
There are Smurfs. There are Smurfs.
Well, there are Smurfs.
Unless you painted yourself.
Avatars.
Avatar. We think there's fiction.
and I'll say this too. There are bad people. There are good people. There are bad police. There are good police, and we need to come to an agreement at some point that every incident isn't the same.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Although it might, the imagery might look similar, the players might look similar, being black, white, or black, brown, or white, this. Every incident isn't the same, and so there are variables that change, and so a lot of times, if you're not law enforcement, then when you see these 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and then of course the imagery of it, you're the judge of that day. Like, oh, this is what it is. I seen it. I know it. I understand that. That's the emotional part of us. That's the human nature of us. But at the same time, we have to understand that George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, those are two different cases. Yeah. Those are two different instances. Those are two different departments. But ultimately, it was the same ending. Where their lives were lost in different forms and fashion. And so we have to understand that in order to be vigilant, we have to know what the circumstances are to be able to address those situations for those officers that were involved in either case, so we don't clump them all as one. Because once we start clumping all the incidents as one, that we're not going to have any legs to stand on. And again, I'm not talking, to represent anything. I'm just saying, from my experience and my knowledge, every incident when it comes to someone dying is not the same. And so we need to make sure that we take a step back, try to get as much facts as possible. Once the facts are presented, then we can move forward in trying to address whatever the flaw, the issue, the problem, or breaking of the law, the policy, whatever it is, and then go from there.
Agreed.
Get all the facts, and both sisters, I see you ready to jump back in. We've reached our time, right? So
like the debate.
Yes, I need to be mindful of your time, because I know you got a lot of stuff going on. And my next question, I believe we're going to try to take offline, is how can the Perspective help event statistic? I'm gonna mess it up.
It's event logistics.
Event statistics.
So it's event.
And he will mess it up. It's okay though. He will mess it up.
I mess up people's names. I add S's when they don't belong. You know what I mean? I'm just terrible about that, right? True. How can the Perspective help event logistics, and how can logistics help the Perspective? But we'll take that offline. That was our next question. Ladies, I greatly greatly appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having us. Before we hang up, Pete, I have to say this.
Yes.
You guys said, don't I sound like somebody? Let me take back to a couple questions ago. You guys, no, Pence. Okay. Remember that? Okay. So at any rate, you guys, one of you guys said that people are ashamed. I think it was you, Pete, that people are ashamed to say that they know someone in law enforcement. I know, I love, I appreciate, I respect everything that anybody that's in law enforcement does. And it's not just because you're my brother, because you are high on that list, kind of topping that list. But I love the sacrifice, and you talk about what you and Cal, I know you guys from that other world, from the entertainment world, but you still were police officers. You all bring that, that humanity, that humility, that compassion from that world into the world when you're protecting those streets, and you sacrifice, and you have time and time again put your lives on the line for people that you don't even know. So of course I know, and I love, and I respect, and I appreciate both of you all for the sacrifices that you have always made. And so thank you. I had to say that.
Thank you.
Every time.
Oh, I swear to God. I appreciate it, because I know the love that you guys have. Right? Yeah. And it, you know, I'm a little tainted, right? Because I'm there, you know, I'm in there. I still, even though I'm 900 miles away now, I feel like it's I still feel the love, right? You know, anytime I call, you're there. Every time you call, you know, we're there. You know, I mean? It's a, and you know, Kale, I know he feels it, because, you know what I mean, he knows. You know what I mean? It's evident. Now, y'all are special, though. Y'all some special people. Everybody in the world ain't like y'all. I ain't gonna sit in front and act like other people care like you do. They don't care like your family cares, right? It is, there's people out there that care a lot, but your family cares. And every blessing that God bestows on you, to you, you've deserved it, and you paid for time and time again with your giving forth. You know, your karma is lovely karma coming back. I hate that we couldn't go to Europe, but damn it, we gonna get it next year or another. We gonna do it.
Maybe on the COVID.
So, Kale, you want to take us home, brother?
No, man. I mean, everything is said, man. We, you know, here at the Perspective, we appreciate you coming on. I mean, you know, this is family. Like I said from the beginning, you know, this is us just having our black table speaks, you know, our round table, you know, talk conversation, and you know that's what we love to do, to be able to bring in our people, our family men, and talk about it and inform and educate. So, thank you. Jill, you good down there?
Thank you for having us at the table.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good, man. Yeah, I just appreciate, man. I was just sitting back listening, man. You know, I'm just the orchestrator for hits 107.3 The Beat, making sure we live on radio. You know what I'm saying?
There we go.
That's out the hits 107.3 The Beat, our sister channel. Absolutely. 512 Jams with a Z. Absolutely.
Live on radio. And P, you was like, man, you don't remember, but man, I was at the Chico concert in Champaign. You forgot that?
Oh, we all are connected. Okay.
So Reed came to Peglia's when we went to the pizza spot that next day. He was the one that was
that day.
Yes.
I was in the wheelchair. I had bought the girl that was singing, and then she didn't come back. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Me and my wife was there.
Very moment, and the girl didn't come back.
That's exactly what happened. Hey, but this could go on forever, right? This is kind of how we do things. Reed, yes, you are absolutely right, bro. I forgot about that, and I got pictures to prove it, right? You know what I mean? But thank all of you for watching The Perspective. We on every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Right now, we're doing it via Zoom, Facebook Live. If we ain't on at 6 o'clock, it's because I had some technical difficulties. But we will be on and popping. Hey, thank you for checking in, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.